Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Judging Nerd Culture. I'm Ollie.
And I'm Jess.
And for the spooky season, we're here to talk about the most terrifying thing on Netflix right now, a teen drama.
Yeah, so strap in.
It's delightful.
We have also, for our YouTube viewers, decorated our little desk that we have to try and make it a little more spooky for the spooky season.
This will continue until late December because the spooky season should extend until the new year.
It's always spooky season for me.
Hell yeah.
So, even though we have this spooky decor on the desk, behind us is still pretty unspooky. But, I mean, unless you consider equality pretty spooky.
To be fair, that was one of the best villains.
Yes. You can't see it very well. Would you like to tell folks what we're talking about?
Yes, I have a little poster of Aman from Avatar Korra Bending. That's not the name. That wasn't the name. But you know what I'm talking about. The newest Last Airbender series. And without a doubt, the best villain. Like, the lady that comes after him is super cool, but his whole revolution, but I'm lying to everybody shtick. Wonderful.
Wonderful. But the bad guys are always, I don't know. You want to root for them a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes it depends, but if they do a good job, sometimes you feel bad for them or, like, agree to something like, yeah, you know, you're not wrong, but... like what's his face? Warmonger in Black Panther?
He was correct, though.
I mean, he wanted genocide. That's bad. But was he wrong?
Genocide for the right reasons. It's okay. No.
But no, that's what I'm talking about. Like, clearly bad.
Yes.
Bad things, bad choices. Understandable motives.
But you know me. I love a trash character.
Which is that why you like everyone in this show?
Yeah. I don't like everyone, but we'll come to that.
We'll get to that.
We'll get there. All right, I got my notes. Why are you gonna hurt their ears?
I'll fix it.
All right, are you ready to get into
Daybreak? Yeah, let's
All
do
right.
it.
So starting off, we were just sitting down for dinner, and we're like, hey, this is a new thing. It looks fun. So we started watching it, and it seemed like it was going to be more of like a goofy spoof on teenage shows and zombie horror type of deal.
Yeah, it seemed like it was basically trying to mash together a ton of, like, overused genres and tropes and silly things to just throw something on the wall and see what happens. And it was that, but it was somehow a little bit more.
Yeah, the first 3 episodes are pretty tame and pretty what you would expect from Netflix trying to do a teen comedy. It did have
a zombie teen comedy.
It did have some humor that maybe only some people would get, I guess, or only some people would think is funny. But after like 3 episodes or so, it actually gets kind of sad and depressing and has meaning and an actual good plot.
Yeah, it seems like the first 3 episodes, they're like, all right, let's appeal to the lowest common denominator, and then once they're hooked, we'll just do whatever we want.
Yeah, it's like, let's hook in these teens because it's a teen show, and then slowly over time teach them about, I don't know, issues and tell them it's okay to cry.
Yeah, and it's actually really interesting because, like, it seems like the jokes are appealing to someone that doesn't exist in the first few episodes, because it's characters who are very much millennials, if not younger. They're probably Gen Z or whatever in this particular setting. Yes. And they very much abide by the kind of caricature archetype of what a Gen Z character is. Yes. With all of the, like, here are my allergies, here are my, like, things you can and can't say to me, blah, blah, blah. All the stuff that people make fun of. Yeah. Which...
They are high schoolers now.
Yes. And the jokes they were making, though, felt like they were jokes that I would have heard back in my high school years, which are not equivalent.
Well, high school humor doesn't really ever change. There's still the poop jokes, the fart jokes, the penis jokes. Like,
I guess.
It's never ending.
Yeah, I suppose so. It just felt like, I don't know, I didn't expect, if this genuinely is targeting the high schoolers of now,
yes,
and this is the kind of comedy that does hook them in, like, I would love to see what the demographic data is on who's most watching. But if it is hooking them, I'm honestly a little surprised, because, like, this is I don't know, not exactly the kind of humor that I would have expected to be in line with what's going on with, like, the world right now. There is a lot of humor just at the things that is stereotypical of millennials and Gen Z and so on and so forth. Like, here we're making fun of you for being sensitive or this or that. Yeah,
for you making a video on YouTube, like.
Yeah, for like, you guys are soft boys. You're not supposed to be doing whatever.
Oh, you're gamer bros.
Yeah,
so
so it's a lot of humor that's like antagonizing what seems to be the demographic that it would be like going towards. So it's really weird.
Well, maybe we're wrong. Maybe the demographic is us.
Maybe
they meant for it to be us, because a lot of it's gotten better in 2019, but a lot of TV shows and movies that have to do with teenagers, a lot of times the actors will be
42,
20, 30, 50,
Do you look young? That's good enough. You're a child. Let's go.
Okay, so do you want to break down the plot? Do you want to talk about some of the characters a little?
I think we could do a more laid-back overview of the plot in that who it focuses on and what their goal is.
Okay, yeah.
So we start off with
Josh.
Yes. McBlandy-Bland.
Seemingly the main character, the hero.
Yes.
The one who, his story is kind of the story that makes everything continue, like keeps the train going.
Yeah. Throughout different episodes, different characters do get the limelight. They are the main characters of their own episodes for some amount of time.
But in the background.
Well, yes, it's Josh's story that connects all of their stories together. And that's kind of what makes him the protagonist of the story, just because he links their stories together. But all of the characters are equally as fleshed out, if not far more fleshed out than Josh.
Yes. And he's just such a stereotypical teenager, which is refreshing a lot of times in TV shows. And I feel like a lot of times in Netflix, maybe they make the teenagers, especially in like CW, they make the teenagers much more mature than really they should be, especially emotionally and like.
Yeah, or just physicality. Like they look like, teenagers, maybe young 20s at most. While
some teens can look
that
old.
Like, have you seen the picture of The Rock when he was 16? He looked like a 30-year-old man.
Yeah, but he's a unique case.
That's what
when I was in high school, I looked like I was in 6th grade.
But what I'm saying is, like, there is some variety to play with here. But the CW tends to be like, we don't care what this character's age actually is or who this actor's age actually is. This is a supermodel. They're an actor now.
Yes.
And that's fine. Like, I love the CW with a bloody passion because I love trash.
Yeah.
But
they don't really act like teenagers.
No.
But in this, they act like teenagers.
Yeah.
And Josh he's Canadian. That doesn't really have anything to do with anything. But he likes to let people know.
Boring. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
I'm kidding. I love Canada.
They mention he's Canadian because he's like really good at hunting, really good at trapping. He can install solar panels. He can make drinkable water out of his urine, which he says is grosser than it sounds.
Which makes me think he's not doing it right, because it shouldn't be.
Which, like halfway through the series, when he mentioned it again, and he said it was grosser than it sounded, I realized he'd been saying it that way, because I have been hearing
it's not as gross
as it sounds, but...
No, quite the opposite.
I realized, he's probably not. Yeah, but he's a good character. He's not very complex. He's not very deep. Like, he's got some baggage, but it's not anything you're not used to seeing in a TV show or a movie or anything.
And I think one of the issues that I have with Josh's story, which is, again, let's actually talk about it because we haven't said what his story is about. His story is he's new to the area before the zombies started, and then while he's in the area, he starts to fall for Sam Dean, a lovely girl in his school.
We'll talk about her in a second. Yeah.
Her whole shtick is just she helps people. That's pretty much it.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. And he starts to fall for her, and they have some sort of relationship, and it's, I don't know, the apex of teen, goals.
Love, coming of age,
Yeah. It's what you would expect in a real good romance teen flick.
Yes.
And, that, goes awry eventually, but that's not really the point. The point is, he is gonna try to give her his love and affections when the nuclear bombs dropped, and then instead of killing off all the teenagers somehow, it just left them fine, alive, and good to go, and turned all the adults into zombies.
Yeah, they're all zombos now, or ghoulies, as I like to call them. Which, can we talk about the ghoulies real quick?
Sure.
How they have their own character lines.
Yes. So I've never thought that this would be something that really pulled me in with the zombie mythos, but the idea of a zombie just repeating its most common phrase over and over and over again is actually wonderful, and it's not something I didn't know I wanted, but I did, and I need it forever now. Yes. I want this in The Walking Dead.
There was one that was like, keto diet, schmedo diet. I'm taking a cheat day. Or 40% off Lululemon. It was hilarious. And it's something new and you didn't expect. So.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I would love to actually find someday a list of them and and just decide which one's going to be my zombie line.
Well, what do you think you say the most?
Currently?
Yes.
Fuck.
So that's your zombie.
Just gonna walk around.
Let us know what your phrase would be. What's the phrase you say the most currently? If you died right now and were a zombie and you had to repeat that one liner, what would it be?
I'm just gonna walk around all day saying fuck.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
I have an exam tomorrow.
No, I don't want to be trapped there forever. But yeah, it brings a lot of levity to the ghoulies, to the zombies, but it's also just they're still zombies. They're still intimidating as a force to have, but it just makes them far more entertaining to see. But yeah, Josh gets separated from his girlfriend Sam Dean during these explosions, and the rest of this story is him trying to find his girlfriend.
Yes. She leaves him a post-it note at his apartment that says, "Where are you?" And so this makes him think, not only does he want to find her, he needs to find her because she needs him.
Yeah, she's in trouble or something's going on. And you start off the story with seeing his apartment that's just stocked with shit. He's been working hard to make sure he's doing all right in the zombie apocalypse.
Yes. Which is impressive.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of stuff in there. He's got 12 games of Catan he doesn't even need. He just has them.
Yeah, that's 12 more than you need.
Yeah.
but he's got an impressive setup. He's doing a surprisingly good job of just winning in the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Not dying, successfully gathering all these resources. He's been mostly a loner, trying to avoid other people, looking only for Sam Dean, which is the first and pretty much the consistent downfall of him. It's just, I only need this person.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing, dude?
He doesn't really care about anybody else. He's willing, once he does find a group eventually, he's willing to just leave them. He's willing to throw them to the side so that he can focus on Sam.
Yeah, and the entire time, as viewers, we're watching this is his tragic downfall. He needs to stop being this guy and be friends.
Yes. The story of friendship.
The power of friendship. Damn, it's another one.
Got a big pen so I can scribble off my notes as we go.
Nice.
Okay.
So, but yeah, there's not a whole lot else to really say about Josh other than when we get to the ending, and I think we should have a little time for the ending itself.
Yes, I agree. Do you want to talk about Sam since
Sure. So
that's who he's trying to save. He's trying to save Sam.
Let's talk about Sam.
What are your thoughts on Sam?
Didn't really care until the very end.
Until the very end?
Pretty much.
I kind of liked Josh because he was just so average. In the end, I wasn't too keen on him. I still didn't want anything bad to happen to him. Sam, however, I honestly didn't really care if he found her alive or not. She just didn't really leave a good impression on me. Just because she seemed very, like she was also kind of your stereotypical teenage girl.
But like, perfect girl kind of deal,
yeah. Well, yeah, and she was trying to be, I'm sorry, I keep clicking the pen. She was trying to be more mature than she was, which I know a lot of teen girls do. But in the show, made it seem really, like, I don't know, it just made me not like her.
Yeah, like, her character, without a doubt, was held as the more, she's better than everyone else sort of thing.
And she expected so much out of Josh. And I just kept telling the TV, like, he's a teenage boy, Sam. You can't expect him to do these things. You can't expect him to be, perfect like you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she has this entire story about, which this is probably the one thing that resonated most with me. It's like, she's the most popular girl in school, and she has a bunch of Instagram followers and digital media followers because of some dumb viral video she made where everyone was like, oh, she's the coolest, whatever. But her whole stick was like, man, I have a bunch of, like, internet fame, and
people like me at school because I'm nice.
But, like, I don't really like anyone, or, like, no one...
But no one really gets me, man.
Yeah.
No one really knows me. I'm so lonely, even though I have all these friends.
Mm-hmm. And, like, even though that's, like, it can come off pretty annoying if the writing is wrong, and a couple times the writing wasn't the best.
Yeah.
But, in general, I think that's the most appealing part of her character. It's just like, alright, I did a thing. It was hopefully gonna make everything great. Nope.
Yeah. And it can tie into real life how a lot of kids and adults, we're doing it too right now, make a bunch of stuff, like whether it's YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, to try and popular and be noticed and to maybe make something out of it, because whether it's a creative outlet or it's just something they like to do and they want to be famous, they do it, and then maybe it doesn't pan out the way they want, or it pans out, but they still feel bad because they don't have the real friendships that they wanted. They're just watery connections over the internet. So
yeah. And this is not connected to the TV show or anything like that, but this is a genuine thing. There's more undiagnosed, like, depression in teenagers than anywhere else, because teenagers also have just random, I hate myself and everything around me and I want to die, because they're teenagers and they're going through wild hormonal shifts. So, like, a lot of times, that's just their that's like how they're gonna be. And it's just waiting until that passes. But for a lot of teenagers, it's not. And they're also just depressed. And they're gonna be that way later on.
And having, this is a weird depression rant we're going on,
but
having the anxiety and the depression that, more and more kids are starting to have, it doesn't help that you have the internet. Like, you can use the internet as a resource to get help, but it's also like a black hole of negative comments and body shaming and a bunch of things that are going to make you feel bad. If you make the Instagram video or picture or make that YouTube video, someone's bound to post on it something negative, and then you have to be prepared for that, or you just like, you're a teenager, so you're going to get depressed about it, even if you don't mean to be. It's still going to get stuck in your head.
Yeah, because it's a weird thing. No matter how many nice comments someone gives you, how many people are like, yeah, this is great, this is wonderful. The comments that stick with you are like, yeah, that was horseshit, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, that hurts. And then when someone's
you look weird, stop making these videos.
Yeah.
No one likes them.
Or versus, hey, that was pretty cool. Wonderful. I'm going to forget that in a week because someone said something mean to me.
Yeah.
And it's not intentional.
You're grateful that somebody said something nice.
Yeah.
And it pumps you up and it makes you feel really good about what you're doing. But then someone says your eyebrows aren't on fleek. And then you get real sad.
Yeah. I mean, it's bullshit because they are. My eyebrows are great. But the negative comments hurt more than the positive ones help. And there's this weird draw towards the internet for people to sort of find validation, and that's fine, and that can work sometimes depending on the circuits that you work in on the internet. But it can also be incredibly dangerous and harmful, and it's a new era that we live in that is starting to become something that we just kind of accept instead of something that we try to figure out what the next step is.
Yes.
And I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
Teenagers don't just have the negative impacts of... there's positive ones, but they don't just have the negative impacts of the internet. They also have the negative impacts of everything else in the world that's happening. Just everything. Well, I don't want to get into it because that's not what this is about. But there's a lot of things that's happening that teenagers have a right to be stressed about, and nobody's doing anything because, this is a teenager, they don't know anything. But the teenagers in Daybreak don't have to worry about global warming or guns or, the internet because they have to worry about zombies.
You know what's wonderful? While I was watching this show, I was thinking to myself, this is weirdly enough, like, even the characters bring it up a few times. Josh brings it up a number of times, and at the very end it's brought up again. They mentioned that the zombie apocalypse, the nuclear zombie apocalypse, was the best thing that ever happened to them.
Yeah, because it made them realize how strong they were.
Yeah. For one, it got rid of adults. And two, it allowed them to take control of their lives. And I think that's a wonderful, sort of look at the psyche of actual teenagers now, where it's just like, well, the world is ruined. Adults ruin it because we just got here. We haven't done shit yet.
And they won't listen to us, so we can't help fix it.
And, what's better than what we're going towards right now? A literal apocalypse.
Honestly. Honestly. But yeah, if or when I have a child, I like to think, I don't know if this will actually happen, I like to think I will give them a lot of control over their life. Obviously, I want to be able to have some of that control so that they don't die. Or, turn into druggies or something. But I want them to feel like they are a person and that they have their own opinions and I will listen to them without belittling them.
Yeah, you want to give them autonomy. That's important.
Yeah. But sometimes it's good for people to get angry. It's good for them to get mad because then they do something.
It spurs you. Look at all the kids doing the protests for the climate change and whatever's going on right now with all these youthful children going out there and doing something, saying something. They're not doing it because they're, sad. They're doing it because they're fucking angry that they're going to die before they become the age of 50 because the world's going to go down.
Yeah, no one's listening.
Fire you help it.
They're not going to have polar bears? Rhinos?
Pretty sure rhinos are dead already.
They're not going to have, silverback gorillas?
Definitely not.
They're not going to have, I think I already said giraffes, but they're not going to have giraffes.
You didn't say giraffe, but they're not going to have giraffes.
Elephants they're not going to have. They're not going to have probably panda bears.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that's panda bears' own fault. They don't know how to fuck.
That's true. They're not going to have lions? The forests will be scorched.
Yeah, no,
Nothing will be the same, and everyone's going to die, and these kids are angry, and they want to do something about it, and everyone's like, it's not real. Anyways, we're getting a little too heated.
Far off topic.
We're getting a little heated, a little off topic, a little political. We should get back to the real things that matter.
Yes, this TV show, Daybreak.
Yes.
So we were talking about before we got off on so many tangents that Sam Dean's major character arc is just her becoming a social media sensation and realizing, yeah, this doesn't make me feel good.
Mm-mm.
And trying to be with Josh and having sort of not the interactions she wants with him, wanting more from him, or maybe just something different, but it doesn't go the way things are supposed to in her mind. And it ends with, or at least their relationship, which I don't care about, spoiling this part. Also, spoilers.
I feel like people know that. If you're coming to our channel or to our podcast, you're going to know you're going to get some spoilers. You are so bad at not spoiling things. And this is a podcast about spoiling things.
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty much it.
Here we go.
There we go. So yeah, the whole issue with them is that at one point or another they were going to have the sex. And
premarital.
Woo! And this episode was, oh my god, that was painful to watch.
It was real awkward and uncomfortable.
And
it did a lot of flip-flops.
Oh yeah.
Like, they were mad at each other, then they were okay, then they were mad at each other, then they were okay, and then they were severely mad at each other.
Yes. And aside from, the emotional flip-flopping, the actual scenes with, like, any sex in it or whatever, supposed sex, were incredibly uncomfortable and awkward. And not just because we were watching, teens supposedly have sex, but because, like, it looked like it was one of their first times. It felt like it was a first time. Yeah.
If you've ever had, like, a real awkward first time, which
89% of them are.
You have. This sums it up, really. Yeah. Especially for Josh.
But yeah, they try to have their first encounter. And it doesn't go well, and Josh is sort of anxious because it's definitely his first time, and it's clearly not Sam Dean's first time, which is fine and dandy, except for Josh.
Yeah. The viewers, I would hope, are fine with Sam being more experienced than Josh, but Josh is not okay with this, and It starts to fester in his mind. And if you are a teenage boy, and you're, have this girl of your dreams, and you're a virgin, and you want to make it special, and then you find out afterwards that she maybe slept with, like, 3 other dudes, you're gonna, you're gonna get nervous that she is more experienced than you. You're gonna get kind of embarrassed that she's more experienced than you, and you're gonna start to not feel very good about yourself.
Yeah, and, like, to some extent, I do get that. Like, I understand more or less the fear of, like, can I be what she needs? I don't know what I'm doing. She's being people who probably do know what they're doing. Blah, 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 blah. So, like, I get that. I get that characterization of Josh in these scenes. But at the same time, part of me is so confused by the, I don't know, social climate that exists right now, where everyone's surprisingly open about a lot of things, and that's wonderful. But then when something actually happens to an individual, they, despite having this mindset that they've spoken out about, because that's just kind of the mental, like, position of the world right now, they revert to a stage where I'm like, yeah, that looks more familiar. I've seen that in the past.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, just because you say something doesn't mean you really believe it. And like I said, he's a teenage boy. So he's going to try to be, and he's a good kid. He's trying to be a good person. So he's trying to be, feminist. He's trying to be, not non-offensive. He's trying. But then once this thing happens, it makes it for him not as special because, she wasn't a virgin too, and I was trying, I waited so long to do this thing, and I don't know. I guess in a teenage boy's mind, that must mean, oh my god,
everything's wrong. Everything's failed.
Wrong.
The world is ending. Well, but yeah, that's basically the crux of this episode, and their ultimate relationship issues is she was more experienced than him in a variety of things, and it caused a weird rift with them in which he wanted this sort of security and she wanted something more.
Yes.
And eventually...
And throughout this episode, he finds a couple sticky notes from his mom that says to call his dad. Because Mom works really long hours. She doesn't really get to see him. So all she can do is rely on Post-it notes and, like, texting and calling him. So she leaves, like, 2-3 Post-it notes, and then she texts him, calls him 2 or 3 times. He's not answering because he's with Sam, and he's going through this god-awful trauma of her not being a virgin. And... and finally, after the first time they've made up and whatever,
they doink.
They doink, and Sam answers the phone because she's like, your mom's called twice and you haven't answered. This isn't cool. You're being mean, so I'm gonna answer. And she, like, jokes around that Josh isn't available, whatever. And Mom is not joking around. She needs to talk to Josh. So Sam hands the phone to Josh, and he listens for a few seconds and then immediately starts getting dressed and just walks outside. He leaves. Mm-hmm. And this is when they're... Again, this is where the roller coaster kind of...
Yeah, this is the end of the roller coaster.
Yes.
And it definitely goes down quick.
Yes.
He got the news that his father had passed away. And you find out more about his father later on in the show, about how he taught him all the survival stuff that he's used to survive until now. He was very close to his father, and then when he was forced to move by his mom, his dad didn't stop and ask him to stay or force him to stay or anything like that. He felt betrayed. He felt let go. He felt abandoned by his dad. And he starts to realize throughout the show that maybe he let Josh go because he knew he was dying and didn't want him to see him this way. So many things that he doesn't know the truthful answer to because he's dead, but a lot of different ideas behind why his connection to his father was what it was at the time. Mm-hmm. And in the flashback that we're seeing all this in, because most of this is a sort of parallel story of here's what's going on, here's what happened before. Mm-hmm. So while he learns that about his dad, in the past we sort of see that the moment when his dad died, it was soul crushing for him. He just sort of, broke a little bit, which is fine. It's fair. That's how kids react when their parents die. Like, that's a big fucking deal. And he goes outside, and Sam Dean follows him to try and, figure out what's going on and console him in some way. And I'm so sorry your dad died.
She's trying to be very consoling. She's trying to comfort him and make sure he's okay, but he just starts blaming her. Yeah, he's just like, if it wasn't for you,
if you weren't such
your skirt,
if you weren't such a slut, and I wasn't so ready to fuck you, I would have, talked to my dad before he died. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Josh,
I can understand.
You're making it hard to not be upset with you.
Yes.
You try, your dad's dead, and I feel bad for you, but you're also such a dick.
See, I can understand at some level why he would be he would project his feelings onto her, because he spent the whole day with her and he just wanted to pay attention to her. He gave all of his attention to her, all of his focus, everything. And in the end, it ended up not letting him have the chance to talk to his dad that one last time. But he is just a twat, so...
He's just a twat. But yeah, that's the emotional climax, essentially, to their little story, and also the primary reason that Josh is so dead set on finding Sam Dean.
Because the last time he saw her, they had this argument.
Yeah, the last time he saw her before the bombs dropped, he was a huge prick to her. And at this point, he's not, upset about his dad. Well, he's still upset about his dad dying. But enough time has passed, longer than an hour. So he realized, wow, that was awful.
Yeah, I did a real bad thing. Hopefully when I find her, that'll make up for it if I rescue her.
Exactly. And, yeah.
Yes. And then in his hunt to find her, he passes by this church and he hears a female calling out for help. And he thinks, oh, maybe this is Sam. Maybe she needs my help. He goes in to find the golf team, who are trying to become part of the Jock tribe, which we'll get to them in a second. But Barry, Larry, Terry, and Gary. I think there might be one more that I'm not remembering, but but that's all I got
Jerry?
right now.
Did you get Jerry?
I did not. I think there was a Jerry.
I think it was Jerry.
There was a Jerry.
I hate the golf team. So
they're trying.
They're trying so hard. But yeah, they're sort of just being dicks to some girl who's locked in a cage that you can't really see, and he's convinced it's Sam, and he tries to fight them, and there's a lot of shenanigans that happens. He can't manage to cut through someone's hand. It's all sorts of funny shenanigans. And when he does save the girl, it turns out it's not Sam.
It's Angelica.
Yeah, this 12-year-old pyromaniac, supposed massive genius.
Yes.
With a lot of insecurities.
Oh, yeah. So he used to babysit her.
She sounded like the worst.
Yeah, until she was like setting everything of his on fire. So she's a homeschooled, supposedly super genius. Her mom travels a lot, and when the bombs went off, her mom was hundreds.
In a submarine?
Yeah, in a submarine, hundreds of whatever meters.
Leagues,
whatever. Under the ocean. I don't know. I'm not an ocean person.
How far into the sea is Ariel?
I don't know. But that's where Angelica's mom was. And so she's got a lot of baggage about about her mom not being around to raise her and people always leaving her, and she wants to test them to see if they'll push back, to see if they care enough to do that.
I'm not gonna lie, I really, really connected with Angelica.
Yeah.
Her character motivation is like, I want to see if they care about me.
Well, Angelica, she's a good character.
Yeah.
She's really good. I think if you watch Daybreak, there's no way you can't like her. Mm-hmm. Even though she's got all this crazy baggage going on, she's funny. She uses weird words like schmuck. Who uses that word?
Not anymore. No one. She also just swears like a 12-year-old who thinks it's cool to swear does.
Yes.
Which is funny in its own right.
Yes. And he's kind of disappointed that it's Angelica and not Sam. Mm-hmm. And as they're running away, they meet Wesley.
Wesley. This guy is a freaking hoot and a riot. And
do you want to hear what my notes say? My notes say Wes, and then it says gay. Samurai, a sweetie, baggage.
So much baggage. So it may have sounded reductive over just her notes, but to be honest, that is it.
That's Wesley. That's him in a nutshell.
And it's not making fun of being gay or anything. No. It's just
one of the factors that actually has to do with the plot.
Yeah, and it's a major focus of his character is being a black gay guy and finding a way to make his life not shitty. Yes. By being those things at the same time.
And also it has a connection with Turbo, one of the main villains that his villain reign lasts like half the season. Yeah. And then he becomes just kind of a nuisance. Mm-hmm. And not really the main guy. Wesley and Turbo have a relationship. Yeah, unhealthy though it may be.
Very unhealthy, but weirdly sentimental and like kind of beautiful. Like their relationship was far more enthralling than Sam Dean and Josh's. Yes. And like, don't get me wrong, bad relationship should definitely have ended.
But it had, I don't know, it was deeper.
Yeah, there was a weird, real connection, which I'm not saying, I'm not trying to give any support to it because it is toxic and dangerous, but it is also realistic in an interesting way.
Yes, like Josh and Sam, I mean, it might be realistic for some people, but Wesley and Turbo, they felt like they genuinely cared about each other, even though they had so many struggles, whereas Josh and Sam, they had some struggles, and it just seemed like, maybe they liked each other a little. Like, you didn't feel as bad about what happened to them as you do with Wesley and Turbo.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agreed. So next we have Eli, another main character that I see you got written down right there.
Yeah, I said Eli, the best. Tom Haverford, and then I'm not going to say the last thing because as a spoiler, I kind of don't want to give away.
That's fair. So Eli is...
He is Tom Haverford. He's Tom of Daybreak.
He's a shitty Armenian version of Tom. We're back.
I'm back.
So...
Magic.
Magic.
I'm wearing my crab shirt. Crab and jellyfish?
Yeah, crab and jellyfish, I think.
Yeah.
Very lovely.
It's by Civil Society. I don't know who that is or what they do, but they make this cool shirt.
I think it's wonderful. So back to Eli.
Yes, Eli, the Tom Haverford of them all.
Indeed. So his entire shtick revolves around the fact that he, I don't know, lies, I guess.
He's very sneaky, very clever, actually really smart, even though he comes off as real dumb.
I mean, he's an idiot, but he's a talented idiot.
Yeah, that's true. He's an immigrant from Armenia. I was close. From Armenia. So he says in his flashback episode that he grew up in a very money conscious household because they were, they didn't buy the things that were unnecessary. Like he couldn't get the new Nikes. He couldn't get some real cool magic cards. He had to work for those at his aunt's hair salon. And he worked real hard. He did the things that other people didn't want to do, and he really did the nitty-gritty to earn his money so he could get just knockoff Nikes or knockoff Jordans.
Yeah, what were the knockoff Nikes again? They were like pikes.
Yeah, they were pikeys.
It had the fists.
Yes.
That's amazing.
That's pretty good. That's clever. And then... Yeah, you go.
What, me? All right,
go.
my turn.
Go, hurry, go.
Eli, I found to be a wholly grating character. Any scene he's in, I was just like, dear God, someone punched this kid in the face.
He's my type of character.
Oh yeah, there's more your jam than mine. And don't get me wrong, by the end, with his finale moment, I was like, yeah, this is cool. Yeah. This is something. But up until then, I'm just like, dear God, Eli. And his whole backstory of like, my family was money conscious immigrants, and we didn't really have everything that I wish I could have. I didn't have the stuff that my friends had, and so on and so forth. I 100% understand. I lived that backstory. The thing is, who cares?
Yeah, they made it seem real sad, and like to Eli it had a big effect. However, it happens. It's something that happens, and it happens all over the world.
Yeah, and maybe I have some unresolved issues that I haven't dealt with, but like they're not that big compared to the grand scope of, well, there's an apocalypse now.
Yes. He did take over the entire mall by himself.
Oh yeah, which
is impressive.
That was pretty dope. He booby-trapped the hell out of it in the most Looney Tunes-esque ass way.
Yeah, but he booby-trapped it.
And boobies. But he secured it. It's his up until Wes and Angelica and Josh show up and steal his thunder and steal his home.
Yes, and this is when he locks Angelica and Josh into a section of the mall with the witch.
Dun dun dun. My favorite character. Hands down. I've thought about it all like since we've watched, and she is my favorite. For a while it was Wes, and then I'm like, nope, right here.
Yeah.
Here's Miss Crumble.
Miss Crumble is my favorite too.
So
her name's not really Miss Crumble.
Yeah, and she talks about it, but she talks
about it many times.
Yeah.
But never tells you what her real name is, because she says that's a part of her life
that's dead now.
You don't need to worry about because I'm Miss Crumble now. I've legally changed my name
to
Crumble.
So here's some of the juxtaposition in tone. The backstory for her Miss Crumble name is that apparently she crumbled and cried one day in class, and people started calling her Miss Crumble. You know, the teenagers were awful because teenagers are the worst. No offense, teenagers.
All of the offense.
But
you can say that. You were one too.
But they weren't just mean to her and calling her Miss Crumble. They changed her information in the school's database and got some of the teachers to agree to call her Miss Crumble. Mm-hmm. People didn't know what her real name was. Her checks were made out to Miss Crumble, and she couldn't cash them until her name was legally Miss Crumble. So she legally changed her name to Miss fucking Crumble. So that's one tone that this show takes.
Do you want to just tell her whole story?
Yeah, sure. Okay, this one's pretty short, honestly.
Yeah. So, back to the tone. The first half of her story is one part of the story. Mm-hmm. The tone of the story, how it can be funny and kind of goofy and make ridiculous sense.
Yeah, just absolute nonsense goofery.
Yes.
But then the second half of her story, which is just the story of a teacher who's desperate to help her students and wants to be...
Because all she wants to do, she just wants to be needed by her kids. Yeah. She's very lonely. Very lonely.
And this loneliness leads her to sort of be taken advantage of by...
the principal.
The principal, who's... That's not okay. That is her superior in, like, school and stuff and work, and it's a clearly unhealthy relationship in various ways.
She's really only using Principal Burr for the connection. She wants to feel that connection with someone, and he's using her for, the boning.
I was gonna... Yeah.
And when just before the bombs go off, they are arguing because she's found out that he's been using bribe money or blackmail money from different parents and students to fund different projects. And he's even taken the money for himself, and he's bought himself necklaces and clothes and trinkets and toys and whatever else. And she's not okay with this because she cares about the kids. She cares about the school and what happens. And he pushes her down the stairs. And it seems like an accident, but he didn't tell anyone about it. He wasn't about to rush her to the hospital or anything.
Mm-hmm. Admittedly, the bombs did come just a little bit after that happened, but with the characterization later on, it seems clear that he would have left her for dead. And again, remember that beginning part where she was like, I had to legally change my name to Miss Crumble in order to get my paychecks.
Haha, that's a comedy. That's funny.
I entered into an abusive relationship with someone who's my superior, has control over me because I'm lonely and desperate to feel affection from anyone.
And now he's killed me.
And now he might have killed me. And it's like, the fuck?
Yes. Throughout the series, she slowly remembers this because she has brain trauma from being pushed down the stairs.
And possibly dead for a minute.
And everyone thinks she's just crazy.
Yeah.
But she honestly just has a severe brain injury. And also might be a little crazy because she was locked in the mall for so long by herself. Mm-hmm. And she's a ghoul.
Yeah. So she, despite being an adult and having been turned into a ghoul, is far more aware than of the other ones. She doesn't just say one or two words. She can speak, even though sometimes she gets lost in her own imagination and speaks nonsense. She can still communicate and is a conscious being who decides, I don't want to eat kids.
Yes, she's fighting these urges to eat the kids. Mm-hmm. She's been eating rats and flies and maggots and anything she can find that's not a human.
And it's just a very, I don't know, sweet and kind of depressing story about a lady who wants to do her best. Mm-hmm. And it ends with her saving the goddamn day, of course.
Oh, yeah. But her and Angelica have a very close relationship, basically mother-daughter.
And it's clear this is what they both deeply wanted. Mm-hmm. Not so much a mother-daughter thing, but she wanted a caretaker role.
Yes.
She wanted to take care of someone very deeply. And Angelica's that person to teach and to nurture into becoming the best person she could be. And that's what Crumble wanted. Meanwhile, Angelica needed that mother figure, which for a lot of kids, the teachers are sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It's one of the best relationships, hands down.
Yes.
Those two were in the majority of the episodes, and their scenes were just glorious.
Yes. One of my favorite character traits of Miss Crumble is that they call her the witch because she can do weird things. And there is a weird... There's a side plot where something weird is happening to her and adults who are kind of like her, who are maybe a little more sentient.
Yeah, like Burr.
But, yes.
They have physical mutations. At one point, she, opens her jaw a foot wide, and Josh just sticks his hand all the way into her stomach and pulls something out.
Yeah, keys.
Keys, yeah.
But one of my favorite traits is that she says she can turn herself into mist. And the first time she does this, she appears out of the, what is it called?
The vents.
The vents. And they're all like, "Oh, how'd you escape?" And she says, I just turned myself into mist and I went under the doors and into the vents. And then she's like, "See, watch, I'll do it again." And then she just kind of moves around real awkward and clunky and then runs into the elevator and falls down.
Yep, runs full sprint into the wall.
Yes.
Passes out.
But later on in the show, she might have actually been able to turn into mist.
Yeah, it's the final climactic scene, and the I don't know, the big issue is there's another nuclear bomb that's going to explode, and someone needs to disarm it, but they can't figure out how to do it because they're all fucking kids, and the smartest one there is literally 12 years old.
Yeah.
And they decide, well, we can't do that because we don't know how, but this says enter to launch, so if we press it and send it far up, it'll explode and we won't die, but someone has to be here to press it, and this rocket shooting up, the fire will kill whoever's there.
Yes.
So Miss Crumble, it's real sad. She's like, I'm gonna do this. Angelica cries.
Yes, it's a very emotional scene. I teared up a little. I'm not gonna lie.
I was a little like, oh no, come on, she's the best. And it takes off, explodes, everyone's saved. The day is saved by Miss Crumble. Everyone's hugging and crying and rejoicing at the same time. They're mourning the loss of this character. And then as the screen sort of pans back, she's just there with them, and they haven't paid attention to it.
And she's like, "Oh, silly! I can turn myself into mist." Yeah, it's great. I love Miss Crumble.
It's good stuff.
So, this principal that we were talking about, who tried to kill Miss Crumble, his name is Principal Burr.
Principal Burr,
who has been parading around around Glendale, which is the town that we neglected to mention.
Yes.
As Baron Triumph.
Baron Triumph. I think that's a fun name.
It is a good name. It's a good name.
Very ominous.
It's too bad it's a good name for such a bad person.
So Baron Triumph is one of the various factions that exist in Glendale, and we sort of alluded to a couple.
He's not a faction.
They sort of talk about him as if he's his own individual,
I guess so. He does have an entire factory to himself.
Yeah.
He kind of runs that area.
Exactly.
Okay.
So everyone else is a conglomeration of kids from different social niches.
Niche?
Niche?
Niches?
Niches?
Did you say niches?
I may have said niches.
How do you say it, guys? Niches or niche?
What about niches?
Niches. Niches get stitches.
So, anyways, so there's a bunch of different kids from different social groups who cluster together. Farmers cluster with other farm boys and girls and make their own farm stuff.
4-H club?
4-H. I don't know what the H is for.
I don't remember. I went to a high school and middle school that had a 4-H club. I don't remember what it stands for.
Who cares? Well, someone does, but I don't. So there's the 4-H's, there's the STEM club kids.
The STEM punks. The Kardashians.
Yeah, they have a very specific style and a very clear, this is who they were in high school sort of dealio. Cheermazons are somewhat important. They're just the cheerleaders or the popular, powerful girls, basically. And then there's the jocks, who seem to be the reigning heads of this area.
They're very Mad Max aesthetic style, yes.
And they're the ones in charge for the most part because they're the jocks, so they're the most physically capable.
Turbo is, in fact, in charge of the jocks.
Yeah.
Well, Wesley came from the jocks after experiencing something he didn't appreciate, so he left.
Mm-hmm. Which apparently was inscrutable jealousy.
Yes.
Turbo murdered anyone he talked to for literally no reason.
Yes.
Anyways, bad relationship aside.
Yeah, part of the unhealthy relationship, but continuing on.
Yes, so he's the head of these people and all this stuff, and each of these factions has their own sort of area that they control, and everyone sort of has loose ties and relationships with one another. Except Baron Triumph, who they acknowledge is some sort of monstrous entity who travels around and kidnaps children and takes them back to the factory, the cereal factory, where they're caged and eventually eaten. Because Baron is a ghoul.
He's a cannibal, yeah.
Yeah. And when you first find out that it's Burr, one, they were trying to pass off if it was going to be the big bully from the flashbacks. But no, it was Principal Burr, who for the longest time, for the first like 4 or 5 episodes, was shown as like
such a good guy.
Yeah, such a dedicated principal who always tried to help and cared deeply about all the students.
Played by Matthew Broderick, who is Ferris Bueller.
Yeah. So this is actually just a continuation of Ferris Bueller. He had to change his name legally. There was a whole thing. But this is in the same universe. That is Ferris Bueller. And it starts off with him being basically the best principal ever. Yes. Like the nicest guy, tried to help everyone.
Trying to be hip with the kids.
Yeah, a little fun, goofy, and a good person. And then as the show goes on, you realize most of that was self-serving. It was to find more money for the school so that he could have more money for himself. It was to keep himself safe from nut allergies. It was to better himself. And he's quickly, near the end, started to become a character of just selfishness and cruelty, and blackmailed students and took bribes to change grades and all this sort of crappy shit, until eventually ended with him possibly murdering Miss Crumble and in the apocalypse becoming a fucking child cannibal.
Yeah, and he doesn't even care.
No, I do love that when he takes off all of the grunge Mad Max armor, he puts on his cardigan and is like, oh, I'm just here to eat a boy.
Oh hey, Josh. Nice to see ya.
Very relaxed. I love that. Yeah. I love that he still acts like, I'm such a nice guy. Mm-hmm. As he's preparing to cook and eat a boy.
Yes. He's the major villain of the second half.
Yeah, he's
the one who wants the giant bomb to go off.
Mm-hmm. So that he can get rid of Glendale, because he decided it's just not good enough.
Yes, he's said, quote, I'm the Jesus of the apocalypse. So
that's your first sign. Probably not the best. So he's the bad guy. He's the goal. They fight him a couple of different times here and there. They got the best of him for a little while, but eventually he comes back. Actually, because of Sam Dean and Mona Lisa, which is a character we didn't really talk about. She's the right hand to Turbo, and seems like she's going to be the right hand to Baron Triumph when he becomes the leader of the jocks, because Turbo's going crazy, so they pulled them out of the prison.
She's just the one who, if you're going to be lead of the jocks, you're going to have as your second hand, because she is the strongest. Mm-hmm. She's the most powerful.
Yeah. And her fucking vag smells like victory.
It does.
She has this
and victory smells good.
Wonderful monologue. But yeah, it's a plot of, well, there's this bad guy. We need someone bigger and badder to take care of him. And then they pull him out and they're like, oh, nope, he is bigger and badder. This was a mistake. Mm-hmm. And then the children sort of start to gather together to stop him under the direction of Josh and Sam Dean. Mostly, they find each other again, and they start going towards start putting together this plan to take Triumph down and to save Glendale and whoever else is around and stop the whole child eating nonsense.
Yes.
And it goes off well.
Yeah. They're worried that they don't have enough manpower to take down Baron Triumph and all of these jocks that he's got on his side. However, Josh says, we need an army. I'll give you an army. And he gets an army of ghoulies.
Yeah. And it's a fun final scene. This is the last episode. Yes. Basically, they summon up this army of ghouls with some fun music and lead them towards these guys, and they have a just balls to the walls fight. And there's plenty of comedy intermittent through all of this. Every scene, there's always comedy a minute after, even in the saddest scenes. And it ends with Baron Triumph being defeated by Sam Dean and Josh, and they all work together to beat him using the knowledge of his nut allergy and his selfishness and so on and so forth. But before he dies, there is, I'm going to say, a strange moment.
Yes, and I feel like we can mention this because it gave us the impression that there will be a second season.
Yeah. This and another little bit seem to be the second season cash grab that they're going for. Before he dies, throughout the show, there's been moments where him and Miss Frizzle have these growths, these disgusting pustules on their backs that move and undulate. I don't know, it's disgusting to look at. If you have that fear of like pores, this will be the most grotesque scene ever. And they have these things on their backs that look like maybe eggs or something. Who knows? They touch each other and their skin like goos together.
I think that part was Bird doing that. I think he did that. Somehow.
Maybe so. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not super clear on it. But clearly they have something changing them in more ways than was already evident. And as he's laying there dying, he's like, I'm not done yet. There's more to come. Blah, 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 blah.
You know, he mentions that they shouldn't worry about him. They should worry about what's coming after him. Mm-hmm. What's coming next. Or something bigger and badder than him.
And what comes next, at least in the scene, is arm shoots up out of his stomach.
Yeah. And I was expecting either, like, once I noticed it was the hand, I thought it was going to be an actual thing that would crawl out of him.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like a more monstrous version of what he could look like.
Yes, but it was like from the elbow up.
Pretty much.
And,
it had kind of claw.
Yeah, it was like a demon-looking hand. Mm-hmm. But that's it. It's just a hand sticking out of his stomach where his belly button would be.
Yeah, that's where that storyline ends. He actually dies.
Yeah.
Giving the middle finger to Josh, and Josh cuts it off like he couldn't do at the very beginning of the show. So it's a weird not a cliffhanger, but like, here's a thing that is going to keep happening probably because it's happening to Miss Crumble.
Yes, and we can't leave it here because then you're going to be wondering.
Mm-hmm. So to make sure there's a second season, as the show is ending, everyone's safe. Miss Crumble's fine. Baron's dead. Turbo and Wes aren't trying to kill each other anymore. Everyone's happy. And Josh runs up to Sam and gives her a big old hug and is like, hey, I found you. I saved you. Everything's great and wonderful. And I have for us this like little place set up. Everything's going to be perfect. We're going to have a happy life together. I love you so much. And she's like, no. Mm-hmm. No, you don't. She makes a quick twist and says, I think the apocalypse is 100% the best thing that ever happened to me. And then declares herself the next leader of this area, sits upon Turbo's throne, and summons up her jocks who just kneel. And it's clear and evident, season 2, she's the bad guy, and I'm actually down for that.
Really? You think she's the bad guy?
100%.
I don't know if she's the bad guy.
I think she's the bad guy.
No, see...
She's at the very least their enemy. Because it's going to be the mall guys and the jocks. There's going to be the two big factions.
Well, I don't think she's going to be the bad guy. I think she's going to want to take over 100%. But I don't think she's going to be killing people or, like, doing anything like that. She came off as, yes, now she has this power and she's going to lead. And you better probably follow her. I don't know. I didn't get the feeling that she was going to intentionally do harm.
Okay. Well, we got very different readings of that ending then. We'll see in season 2 who's right. My money is she goes apeshit, starts killing.
I mean, she might be like chaotic neutral, chaotic good.
I'm going to go chaotic neutral at the best. I think she's going to be a very Turbo-esque figure in the, let's have people singing on top of a ghoul box, and if they sing bad, we'll drop them in there and watch them die. I'm going to do crazy, evil things, but it's very polite and fun. It's like, everybody likes me, blah, 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 blah. I think that's where she's going to go. I think that's where her character's going to be. A weirdly ominous and weirdly terrifying character who's this tiny, unintimidating girl.
Possibly, but I guess we'll have to wait and see for the next season, which probably won't come out until next year because we binge watched it in like 2 days, 3 days because we had things to do. But
that's Daybreak.
That's Daybreak.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I do highly recommend it, honestly.
Yeah, if you like horror, if you like comedy, if you just like a fun teen movie.
There are a few moments early on where the humor maybe is a little raunchy in weird ways. Maybe it seems a little outdated even, but that shifts drastically afterwards.
I feel like some of the humor is more towards the like socially conscious people, and like they would get it more, but then some of the humor is laughing at them.
Yes.
So
it's a toss-up.
So
overall, I think it was.
You might laugh, you might get offended. I don't know. Who knows? You'll have to wait and see. You'll have to watch it. Let us know what you think about it. Talk about it with us.
Yeah, let's have a little chat about whether you think it was good enough to warrant some of the shittier jokes.
Yeah, let us know what you think about Sam. Is she going to be evil? Is she going to be a good leader?
Yeah, let's.
Who knows?
Let's put up a poll so let's figure out who's right. I'm putting money down. She's gonna be evil as heck.
How much money?
$2. I don't have a lot of money. All right. Well, this was a lot of fun. Remember to do all the Instagram, Twitter things. Follow us on @CryptoDelta on Twitter and on Facebook @Delta Crypto Productions on Instagram and any other social media you can find us on. Just search those words. They're very unique.
Yeah. Any podcast catcher, we're out there. Give us 5 stars on iTunes. It makes it a lot easier for us and for other people to find us. Mm-hmm. Gives us some good cred.
Heck yeah. Also, we've recently started working, for lack of a better term, I suppose, with a podcast app called Himalaya. And their whole shtick is that they try to connect listeners and the actual podcasters a little more easily, a little more directly. So, for the longest time, it seems as though iTunes has been the place to leave reviews, but they are allowing people to have their own little review system. You can like and dislike different videos and episodes of everything. They have a means to directly put up bonus episodes and premium content, allowing people to support different shows in an easier, more direct way. And at this point, podcast apps are all pretty darn similar. Some have different functionalities in different ways, and what you like best depends on just your personal UI preference. But for the most part, they're pretty similar. And this whole trying to have the interaction a little better between the user and the listener, I think puts them above the majority of other podcast apps. So give them a shot. Give them a try. And
and they have us on it. So, of course, they're kind of superior
to anything else. Yeah. So, thanks for listening. And hope you have a great day.
Bye. We love you.